Hey there guys, as some of you have noticed, there's been a change to Dark Visions where some of the bosses are immune to the other damage type, and this kind of messed up the turn 1 OTK team that I used to use to just, deal with day 1 stuff. So I've made some updates, and now I have rebuilt my OTK teams, and I figured I'd show them. This is not meant to be budget or anything. This is just a team for those of you that have decent stuff and like to just load the exact same team for every single boss until the final bosses come out. So we have to do 2 different teams now because one's going to be a mage team and one's going to be a physical team. This should be my OTK turn 1 any magical fight, no matter the element, no matter the race. Now, it's going to be an earth team, and the magical boss happens to be weak to actual earth. So we're going to do a lot more damage than we would otherwise, but on a future Dark Visions that is, a magical fight that is not weak to earth, it should still deal 1 billion damage or more. So let's get in here and do a turn 1 OTK. I'll show the team and the gear, and then we'll go to the physical one, which is going to be a lot easier. But basically, we're going to be using Tsukiko because she's an evoker, so she ignores the killer. So she's basically always maxed out killers to everything. So Tulian will do his 160 Earth in Peril, which is going to be a bigger deal when the boss is not naturally Earth weak. We'll do an 88 break, and then we'll just hit the boss for weakness damage. Sylvie will do Paladin's Offense for the buffs. We'll do Gravel Egg for the Earth Imbue, Earth Amplify, etc. And then we'll do Clever Paladin Strike for the Sword in Peril. Now the rest of the party is going to deal damage. Tsukiko is going to use her LB, which is going to be the primary damage, and the whole party is using a sword because we did Sword in Peril. So there we go. Dark Fina is going to just quadruple her Bolting Strike Earth skill. Sage is going to quadruple Black Magic. We gave him the Stone Materia. This is just for support chaining. It's not really for damage. His damage is going to be garbage, but just support chains to get that 100 count chain score. And then Ayaka is going to quad Earth, which is in her kit, and it should deal decent damage. And we'll go ahead and chain these guys up, and the 3 quad Bolting Strikers will give us the 100 count chain score. There's Tsukiko in there with the big hit. 4 billion damage. Plus we had some damage from Ayaka and all. So we did 6.6 billion damage. We only needed 1 billion. And everyone on the party is using actual magic, so the immunity is not going to be a problem. That being said, it was weak to Earth, but on a fight that is not weak to Earth, you'll still deal something like 2.5 to 3 billion damage. And here's the breakdown. Tsukiko, because she doesn't need killers, so she was quote-unquote maxed to all killers. Ayaka, I don't know what the boss was, but she's probably not wearing the right killer. But we'll see the team's gear in a second. So out of curiosity, what was this boss? This boss was, undead, and actually I think Ayaka naturally has undead killer. We'll look real quick, just my own curiosity. Oh yeah, she has natural undead killer, so she was maxed actually. Anyway, she's at, high magic with a sword build, because we are using Sword in Peril. There's the setup, not really doing killers, and it shouldn't matter for the most part. She's mostly a support unit. The real damage comes from Tsukiko. Naked Sylvie, and then Tulian is just using an earth weapon, and then Vidar and his gauntlets to give him the 160 in Peril and the 88 break. Some MP gear, because they do cost a lot of MP. Then Tsukiko in the shift form is the primary damage dealer, using a sword. If you don't have the Dark Vision sword, give her like Frievia's sword or Hero Dai sword, or just use a different weapon and get a different in Peril somehow. Do whatever you want to do. And here's the setup. I think we're maxed on air. I think she actually might be a little bit short on Evo damage. Yeah, she's at 280, 300, 300, so a little short on maximizing because we are using a sword, but good enough, good enough. Dark Warrior Fina's Prayer didn't really deal damage. I geared her for damage, but it's mostly because she's a quad Bolting Strike Earth user. Sage, same thing. Awakened Onion Knight using a sword. High-ish magic. The Stone Materia, you get this from friend point summons, and then just kind of whatever. They were just support chainers, not really dealing any real damage. Now let's pop over to the physical fight, and I'll show you my updated physical team, which is obviously going to be easy. So here we go. So the boss is doesn't really matter because we're going to be using a we're going to be using an ice team. And here is the party we're going to be using for all physical fights. Now, if for some reason you come up short on a fight, you can swap in your imbue unit. For example, we're using Frievia for our imbuer because she does imbue plus field plus imperil at the same time, and she can hit multiple times for weakness damage. If you really wanted to go on element, you could do something like light imbue or lightning imbue from Sylvie, stuff like that. But we're going to use Frievia even though it's off element. So we're going to use Sylvie to do her shifted LB. This will be a stat buff, an LB buff, and a LB modifier buff for the party. We're going to use Frievia to imbue ice and then triple hit the boss for weakness damage because the rest of the party is using their limit burst, and you got to hit the boss 6 times with 6 attacks, and LBs only count as 1 hit. So 2 more hits from Frievia. Then shifted LB of Kaito, he's going to be clicked first. That's going to be a break and extreme nova. Then 2B is going to be clicked second. Then Sky's base LB and Chizuru's shifted LB. So we're going to go ahead and chain these up. And that'll be our 100 count chain score as well as damage. And there it is. And let's see what kind of damage we dealt. So we did 3.2. So not a huge overkill because we are going off element. The boss is heavily ice resistant. We didn't care. That's the beauty of these parties. They don't really care what the boss is resistant to because you just load the same party and go at it. And obviously 2B pretty much carries. Chizuru as well. Sky here mostly because she's just a bolting strike chainer, not really specifically for damage. And then Kaito is our breaker plus support chainer. And there's our physical loaded against everything, use the same party. And here's the party. Naked Sylvie, Naked Frievia, Naked Kaito. They're just support stuffs. Then 2B is geared for damage in the base form. There it is. She's got decent killers to everything because she is a premium. So she's got 225 or better to every killer. So she's going to be the primary carry no matter what boss you're fighting. She should always have at least a 225 killer. And you can always swap things around. Like Black Submarine, just because it gives 3 different killers, you could swap this to an actual killer you need, swap her Esper, etc., and then max her killer on everything. Sky, just support chaining, really. Titus's STMR, and then she's her base form LB, mostly because it's Extreme Nova. That's the only real reason. And you could replace her with literally any Extreme Nova user. Sylvie wasn't used. Chizuru, shift form, is damage versus pretty much everything. There it is, and then Cool Smile, and she's got some killers, not everything killer, like she's low on Aquatic and Demon, etc., but whatever. There it is. And again, you can customize her killers per fight. I just geared her for generic killers, so she should usually hit the target, but if not, if you ever come up short, go to the proper element, change your imbuer, change your killer gearing, etc. But there's the super easy turn 1 OTK team I'll be using until it stops working, I guess. Now, those teams will probably not work to turn 1 OTK the final bosses. Those are going to need, customized teams. But I'm going to have those teams on Saturday. See you then.